And good afternoon. I am Dr. James A. Smith Jr., and welcome back to another edition of the Dr. James Show. Glad you can make it. Again, get ready for an exciting, informational, and transformational show. But before we dive in, let's bring in our host, Rachel Barkley, General Manager of the Pyramid Club. Rachel, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday, Dr. James. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How about you?
Doing very well, getting acclimated to this fall weather, which I love so much personally.
The weather is changing. Weather is
It
changing.
is.
Now, Rachel, I do my research. I always do my Rachel research. And rumor has it, easy for me to say, rumor has it that there are three exciting things that are happening at the club. Is the research right?
The research is correct. There's actually far more than three, but
Okay.
most notably it is Member Mixer Month. As we start to see more members in the club, we have mixers to please everyone. So we had an outdoor member mixer, which you've come to before, Dr. James.
Mm-hmm.
We had that last Tuesday. And then tonight we have our first in-person since March, maybe February, in-person mixer, socially distanced. So we get to show, we have a good number of people coming to that.
Nice.
So it's nice to see people feeling more comfortable coming into the city and being in the club, which we've been working very tirelessly on making safe and clean and, revamping our menus and all of that. And then we have a virtual one next month. So,
Nice.
All of that being said, really engaging with our membership, which is very exciting. And then I think I mentioned
it seemed like it took forever, right? Every week we were doing the show and you were hanging in there and hanging in there. Now we're here.
Well, resilience, right? That's what we discussed. We've been discussing the whole time.
Absolutely.
Resilience pays off, right?
Sure.
So
what else?
Yep, so
I think there's something to do with fitness.
Oh my gosh, Dr. James, sorry.
I do my research.
Yes, sorry. So yeah, we just solidified a partnership with City Fitness, which is a state-of-the-art fitness facility in Philadelphia. They have 6 locations citywide, and we are partnering up with them starting in November. So there will be a fitness component, which we've never had at the Pyramid Club. And I think it really is going to offer a benefit to our members and new members that join us. I think everybody needs the peace of mind to moving is a big piece of what's going to help us all keep our sanity, right, and our health more importantly. So super excited for that, and membership will see more of that in the coming weeks. But yeah, that's something I'm super passionate about, and we've been working on for, I want to say, 6 months. So it's really nice. We just came out of that meeting not so long ago. So yeah, that is a very big piece of research that you did. I don't know how you found out about it.
Good stuff. And since I have you on real quickly, a little content show teaser. Rumor has it that you and the chef will be making your appearance on the Dr. James Show the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Talking all things wine, all things recipe, hosting. So is that correct?
You are correct. Yeah, so Chef Silva and I will be, I don't think you've ever seen us together, but we're quite the duo. He may have been on television, but I was made for the screen. So
there we go.
He and I will be discussing, picks for wine. If you're looking to have wine at your Thanksgiving dinner, not really sure what to get. So we'll be, maybe I'll even send you a little bit to try.
Twist my arm.
Prior to the air. Yeah, I know, it's hard to convince you. And then Chef will be talking about his Thanksgiving tips. He does, he's got a Caribbean flair to his cuisine, so he'll be talking about how he does his things. And he does a pretty good turkey. I'll have to let you know that. So looking forward to it.
Tuesday before Thanksgiving, I believe, is November 20th. And we look forward to having you and Chef come on then. We have a special guest right now. Rachel, thank you. The person I'm introducing right now, I just like to call him the financial planner whisperer. His name is Eric Knoblauch. Eric is all things financial planning. However, he had quite the experience that led him to his current role. Let's bring Eric on right now and let's talk about financial planning. Let's talk about Eric Knoblauch. Let's talk about financial planning during a pandemic, during uncertainty. Eric, welcome to the Dr. James Show.
Hi, Dr. James. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. It's all mine. The pleasure is mine. I'm glad that with that crazy schedule of yours, that you've been able to carve out some time to not only inform and educate, but also to share in a way that we'll get it. Sometimes financial planning and the numbers and statistics and the facts, sometimes it's hard to put your arms around. But I've seen you in action, and you have a very user-friendly, informational, calm way of making numbers make sense. So again, welcome. Glad you could be on the show. And if it's all right with you, I'd like to dive right in.
Okay.
Now, something happened in your life that steered you to your financial planning journey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you had this on your vision board years and years and years ago, but can you tell us, can you take us back, both mentally and emotionally, take us back to where you were and what happened and how that led to how you got here?
Yeah. So, my story started a little over 8 years ago. At the time I was working for my family's construction company, and, my wife, my daughter and I were living in Bucks County. And, one night I went to bed, I felt fine. And I woke up the next day and my hand hurt.
Mm.
That's how quickly it happened.
You said it hurt. Was it throbbing? Was it, sometimes we sleep on our arm or our hand and we wake up and it's numb. What?
It was a dull ache. It was just aching. It felt like the battery was dying.
Wow.
If that makes sense. Like it just, I knew there was something wrong. A few weeks later, my left hand started to have the same symptoms, and which was really terrifying because I had no idea what was going on.
Sure.
Within the next, with a year, after numerous tests and everything, I realized that, one, I'm not dying. It wasn't anything.
Sure.
I was terrified that it was ALS or something else like that. But I also came to the realization that I'd be dealing with chronic pain the rest of my life.
Wow.
And that kind of, along with that realization was the financial reality that I could no longer do the work that I was doing. I was in construction, work for my family's business, and what I experienced at the time was an interruption of income. That's just like so many people are dealing with right now.
That's so smooth. An interruption of income.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other way, to explain it. My household income was here.
Right.
And then it dropped down to here, but my expenses remained here.
Yeah.
And, we talk about the emotion. I mean, what I experienced at the time was a loss of everything that I took for granted, a loss of my freedom, like the optional things that I would enjoy doing, simple things like going out to eat,
Wow.
traveling, we couldn't do that stuff. I have a client who defined freedom as the ability to act without hesitating. Mm-hmm. And literally everything that we did, every choice we made came with hesitation.
What was the impact not only on you? What was the impact on your daughter, your wife? What was home like?
It was stressful. We came together, but it's everything, like I said, little things like soccer practice, joining soccer like that. It's like, well, can we afford it? While we're going through that, because it's very hard. And what people are dealing with right now, it's very hard to lower your fixed expenses, lower your essential needs. You have a rent, you have a lease, you have a mortgage. You can't just pick up and go at the drop of a hat. And there's only so much you can do to cut costs. So it was challenging, and then, you talk about my wife and my daughter, but, the ripples actually traveled even further. They hit my in-laws, they hit my parents, because, fortunately I had a support structure, but, we had to rely on them at times, and not that they weren't happy to do it, because they they love us and they wanted to be there for us. But, it was, a very, it was embarrassing. There's this sense of embarrassment for me going through it, that I had to do that.
Did you, in addition to that sense of embarrassment, I'm feeling you, was there ever a point where you would say that was your lowest point, that was your most painful point, that was the turning point?
I never thought of it in those terms, but I mean, there was times I isolated myself. You didn't want to, when you don't have anything good to say to people,
Right.
you kind of, withdraw. So, when I did that, I kind of, was just focused on getting better, improving myself through higher education, and doing a lot of self-reflection, a lot of self-research, because one, I don't ever want to be in this situation again. And two, I want to make sure other people don't ever end up in that situation.
Wow.
And I hope that people are able to learn from, hearing my experience, so that they, put some deep, careful thought into their own personal and, even business plans. So.
What an amazing backstory. Then what happened? You went back to school. We are Penn State, is that correct?
We are.
When did things begin? When and how did things begin to turn around? You were in construction, you went to school, business, and take us forward from there.
Yeah, so I took the opportunity to go back to school, and the mindset that I developed, through this experience was I want options. Okay, if, I talk about freedom a lot, and to me, freedom is having options, it's having choices. And at the time, I didn't have any choices. I was reacting to the situation because I had one choice, and it wasn't a great one. So when I went back to school, I was careful in choosing my majors. I wanted to have majors that provided more options. I had no clue where I was going to end up.
Sure.
And along the way, I was in my early 30s going through this, and I just knew that my resume would be stronger if I had some experience. And fortunately, an advisor in my office, Russ Romano, started working with my brother. And in their conversation, my name came up, and Russ called me, and I kind of jumped at the opportunity. I was like, oh, great, I can build my resume, and who knows, I'm still keeping my options open. And then the more I learned about the business, the more I realized, wow, I really could have used a financial planner. And I also realized that I can add a lot of value to people because I have a different perspective than other people who are going through the process. So I joined Northwestern Mutual. I've been there since. I've really loved the company. I was very skeptical about a lot of the stuff, and then I doing my own research. I don't think there's anywhere else I would want to be.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
If you have questions or comments for Eric, please put them in the chat room. We will get to them. You're going to get a lot. You're going to get a lot today. Eric, when you work with clients, because I believe you work with individuals and you work with small businesses, what's your approach? Do you share your story, your amazing backstory? Do you find out more about them? What's your approach for bringing someone on board?
For me, it's building the relationship. It's getting to know them. I came to realize pretty quickly that when financial advisors talk, people's, their eyes tend to glaze over. So I focus on other people. What's going on with you? Like I think my story adds to how I help people plan.
Sure.
But oftentimes I'm a little reluctant to bring it up because I'm not sure. I'm not sure how interested people are in hearing the story, or if it's going to be scary. And that's one thing. Like I hope people aren't hearing this and feeling fearful. Acknowledging the possibilities that could happen can prepare you. Like Dr. James, you say all the time, it's better to be prepared for the opportunity than have the opportunity and not be prepared.
Right.
Well, this pandemic is a huge opportunity for a lot of people, the people that were prepared. Where we hear, all the time in the news about the billionaires and how much money they've made during this pandemic.
Right.
They were positioned to take advantage of opportunities that were out there. You had a guest on a few weeks ago who talked about her FU fund and how that helped her, that gave her choices and freedom to be able to navigate a very difficult, situation at work, because she knew that being there was a choice. She could always leave. Those are all risk management strategies, and implementing risk management strategies can really, give you a lot of freedom, in an uncertain, world.
Before I ask the next question, I want to go back to your story. And essentially, in my industry as a speaker, we're coached to tell more gory stories than glory stories. Why? People want to hear how you fell down.
Yeah.
What hits did you take? Because you're up, you're running your company, which means you survived, you're thriving, you bounce back. They want to hear how'd you do it, how committed you are to what you're doing now, and that commitment comes from where you've been. If I was coaching, I would say use it more often.
Yeah.
Now I go forward. What are you sharing with people these days around uncertainty and ambiguity and dealing with finances during the pandemic? Is there an approach you're sharing, or just can give us a little peek behind the curtain?
So it's really not a whole lot different than before the pandemic. I mean, when you think of any risk, I always start with risk management first. Okay. Like you use the word survival, which is the biggest thing. You can't grow if you don't survive. And so I start with risk management, and for something like a pandemic, that falls into that short-term interruption of income.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. So if you think of it, if you were prepared, like your guest a few weeks ago talked about the FU fund, if you were prepared to either voluntarily or involuntarily lose your job for a period of 6 months, then you were prepared for a pandemic up until this point.
Okay.
You have that plan in place. But for me, I always start with risk management. We have to evaluate, are there risks that you can retain, or are there risks that you need to transfer, and make sure that, no matter what happens in life, you can still, you still have options and choices, as time goes on. And I don't know if I did a great job of answering that, but
good stuff. I have another question. However, there's a question in the chat room. The question is, and it comes from Charmaine. Charmaine said, what advice do you have to offer to individuals who are nervous about their financial situation during the pandemic, as well as the roller coaster ride that the stock market is going through right now? So again, what advice do you have to offer to individuals who are nervous about their financial situation during the pandemic, as well as the roller coaster ride that the stock market continues to take us through, especially right now?
So it's a great question. And it's difficult to give, really detailed advice, with limited information. But generally speaking, when I'm working with my clients, I want their never, I don't ever want them to be concerned about their financial situation, about keeping a roof over their head, meeting their basic needs.
Mhm.
Okay. I have some clients who just retired before the pandemic, and they were worried about it. But, we knew that we to prepare for that retirement, and we knew that the market could go up and down at any time. We put money in cash so that they didn't have to worry about this money that's off the roller coaster.
Right.
So essentially, we look at your time horizon. Do you have enough? Is your income stable? Do you have enough cash reserves to kind of deal with the short-term, interruptions of income up and down that could happen? If you're in a situation where you feel like you might have to sell your investments or sell your retirement accounts to make your ends meet, then maybe that money shouldn't have been invested in the first place. Maybe that money should have been in cash. A lot of people, pre-pandemic, they were focused on just growth, on maximizing their return. And the idea of keeping money on the sidelines seemed less than optimal. But that cash, cash always has a purpose, to kind of be prepared for situations like this. So I hope I answered that.
You said if your income is consistent, what happens when it's not? What happens when you're an entrepreneur like me, where
Right.
you have your peaks and valleys, highs and lows? And this year caught me off guard.
Yeah.
Pandemic wasn't on my vision board.
So a lot of people with the pandemic right now, unfortunately, if things are a little stressful or you're nervous, you have to react to the situation. I mean, that's the situation I was in when I was disabled. The preparation, like any risk management, needs to be addressed before. You have to put your seatbelt on before you get into the car accident.
Nice.
And so, really what I'm advising my clients is, right now, this is the situation we're in. We need to choose the least bad option to kind of move forward, but then we need to intentionally prepare for what could come next. Because, odds are, something else is going to happen in our life.
Sure. And
we don't know when it's going to happen. We don't know what the impact is going to be, but we can prepare for that possibility. And if we're prepared, then we'll have options. We'll have, and we can maybe take advantage of some opportunities that come along the way.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I see another question. I'm going next door into the chat room. What simple, specific steps can someone take right now? Simple, specific steps that they can take right now to set themselves up to be financially resilient within the uncertainty. I think you started to answer that. For example, how can people objectively get clear and honest with their numbers? Thank you, Erica.
So another great question, and glad to see Erica here.
That chat room, yeah. Yes.
So for me, I always start with the budget. Okay, and with a budget, you have income come in, and you have obligations and options. You have things that you're obligated to spend money on. You have your food. When we're younger, we're taught food, clothing, shelter, right? As basic needs. But in modern day, to get food, clothing, and shelter, we need transportation, we need communication, we need healthcare, we need all, and we need money. So what I do is I take their income and I'm okay. Well, we got to divide this between our obligations and our obligational spending and our optional spending. Okay, and if you're going to survive, the best way to do it is to reduce those obligations as much as possible. Okay, if your obligational spending is 60% of your income, as opposed to 100% of your income, like I see sometimes, or like it was for me when I was disabled, then at 60% you can survive a lot longer. But imagine if you are living on 30%. Like if you only need 30% of your income, and I know some people who are doing this, they make really great money, but it's that fire generation. I forget what the acronym's for, but it's all about retiring early.
Mm-hmm.
And they're living, like, I know people that are living in like 1-bedroom apartments because they're stockpiling everything,
Sure.
and they're going to survive. They put themselves in a position to survive longer. I'm not advocating that because there's a lot of other emotional factors. Like, I have 2 daughters. We wanted them in a good school district. We want to,
Sure.
so it's a balancing act. But
what's the mindset for someone to be a successful financial planner? What mindset should we have? You gave us tips and tools, but from a mindset, any tips or suggestions for that?
So to be a successful financial planner?
Not in your role, but
Right.
me as, everyday Joe or Josephine.
Okay.
From a mindset perspective, what could I have that would set me up for a great future?
So it needs to be, let's say, I'll tell you my mindset of how I've adapted based on my experiences. Okay. What I realized was the decisions I made without even realizing it had a negative impact on my wife, my daughters, and other people around me. And it's not because I made a decision that got me hurt. Like, I wasn't doing anything reckless. I was sleeping, when it happened.
Sure.
But I didn't prepare for that possibility. And I may not have prepared because maybe I was never exposed to it. Maybe nobody ever talked to me. Maybe a financial planner never called me.
Right.
But I didn't prepare for it, and I took on a lot of risk. So what I've done instead is I evaluate my decisions very carefully.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that my decisions don't negatively impact somebody else. Okay. And I've seen this happen, and people think, well, that's a no-brainer. But they don't realize that if they're not putting careful thought into it, they are exposing people to a financial loss. I've seen this a lot with business owners who are, and you're a business owner, you don't see that, you're an entrepreneur because you see things going up. You see life getting better, business picking up.
That's good.
And sometimes it goes down. And if it goes down, who's hurt? And nobody wants to feel like they hurt somebody else. So that's one thing I don't want to do. The other thing is I want to make sure that I'm not exposed to financial ruin.
Sure.
I don't ever want to be in that situation. And then, moving forward, I just want to have options. I want choices. And those are the mindset, like, protect people and increase my options. And whatever, life will just get better if that's what I'm doing. So
you and I are in different businesses, but we're speaking the same language. I talk a lot about creating options for yourself, creating choices. Don't just get locked into that one path. Options, options, options. And you've helped me out just now. I know what you focus on grows. And I tend to focus on taking people up, going up, going up, going up. However, having the wherewithal to be ready just in case is something that I have to do a better job at. So thank you for that. There's another question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. No, and it's the visual is climbing a mountain. You ever see somebody climb a mountain? Every now and then they put a stake in the mountain, they tie themselves off.
Nice.
Like, so they're climbing, and they because they know if they don't do that, then they could fall really far. And the more we grow, the more we, like, in life, you got to reevaluate your risk management strategy. You got to relook at it. And like, risk management isn't just insurance, it's budgeting, it's saving for retirement. Okay. Saving to live to 105 instead of living to 90.
If I was in church right now, I would say, preach, preach.
There you
go. Your analogy, putting the stake in the mountain, hashtag stealing that. That was good.
Okay.
Put that stake there. Go back to the chat room. It's noisy over there. What are your thoughts about taking advantage of the real estate investments right now, especially since The interest rates are at an all-time low. Any thoughts there of taking advantage of the real estate investments that are happening right now because the interest rates are pretty low?
So it's a great opportunity. And as long, I mean, and there's opportunities all over the place.
Sure.
So, you know, if I'm going back to that mindset that we talked about, you know, would I, in my personal situation, would I take out a mortgage to go buy an investment property? I wouldn't, because if that one property goes south, I could end up hurting other people. And I'm not going to do that. Okay. There are people out there who are well positioned for this. And, you know, what I would caution is there's no need to be anxious to get into this. Like, if you slowly develop your risk management strategies so that you are protecting the people you care about and protecting your lifestyle, other opportunities are going to come along, and you can wait for that. But I see people, you know, I'll talk to real estate investors about the cap rate and how to kind of properly evaluate that against other investments out there. And I find a lot of people who, especially who take out debt to purchase these properties, are not getting the returns that they think they're getting because of a miscalculation. So
it's good stuff. I'm going back to the chat room one more time. Many people and small businesses were negatively affected by the pandemic. And there are more requests than ever to donate to those in need. What would you suggest about donating during a time when nearly everyone is financially strapped?
So this question is really making me smile, because I you know, part of developing the plan, for me, I was in a situation, I had bad luck, and I don't think I would have survived if it wasn't for the support of my family.
Sure.
You know, that they kind of helped me out. They, you know, I may never have completed my degree. I may be, you know, who knows where I would be working right now. But, you know, I think donating is great as long as you're able to do it, as long as you don't hurt yourself or hurt someone else because you're donating. Yeah. And I want people to be in that position. I mean, how great would it be if because everybody right now knows somebody who's impacted by the pandemic, you know, and I believe people are good and we want to help others, you know, and the pandemic, you know, I've heard, you know, you'll see some people go negative and they'll say, oh, well, people should have been prepared for this. And, you know, nobody predicted a pandemic, and there was no amount of skill or talent or education that any one of us could have had to stop this pandemic from happening. Okay. This is bad luck. And, you know, there's a lot of talented businesses that are failing, you know, and that are going to fail because of it. And if you're in a position to support them, I say, you know, go for it. I mean, that's what we need to do. We need to come together and collaborate and help each other, you know, pick each other up from this.
Well, what I'm hearing is the example I'm sure you've heard before. When you're in the airplane and they're going through their safety instructions, oxygen mask goes off. You first.
Yeah.
I think that's what I just heard. Eric, let's go back a few months. Let's go back to March. And you actually, March 19th, and you accompany me to my morning meeting. We get our breakfast, we sit down, the meeting's going to start at 8:30, it's 8:25. I check my phone one more time before the meeting starts to see if there are any messages, any client requests. And you see the expression on my face go dismal. And you look over and you see that 2 emails back to back were from clients who canceled the upcoming program. You knew thousands of dollars would be lost. And then you started thinking, well, if those 2 clients canceled, I bet more of his clients are canceling for the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you have given me in that point? Because now that I've lived through it, I know about some do-overs I would do.
Mm-hmm.
But for the people who are experiencing it from the entrepreneurial, even just life experience standpoint, what advice were you giving them back then, and has it changed now?
So it hasn't changed a lot, but my conviction for it has definitely increased exponentially. And it's, you know, it's having a simple, you know, cash reserve and having an emergency fund if you're a individual. I mean, you know, it's again, it goes back to preparing for that short-term interruption of income. You know, Dr. James, this is a personal story, hypothetical.
Oh, this is 100%. I'm
Okay.
keeping this. This happened. Thousands
Right.
of dollars just like that.
Right. So it goes back to intentionally preparing for that possibility. I mean, you know, Dr. James, there's no way you're going to go through 6 months or an extended period where clients are canceling on you. So it's like, okay, we had this economic situation that had nothing to do with you. How do we survive until the economic environment improves?
Sure.
And it's being prepared to survive until that happens. Because, you know, like I said, there's a ton of talented people out there who aren't going to survive, whose businesses are already bankrupt. You know, it's, you know, yeah, it's just position yourself to be able to withstand the storm. I mean, not to give another analogy, but I think, have you seen Spy Game?
No, I have
Robert
not. I
Redford.
love analogy.
Robert Redford has this great quote in it. You know, he's talking to his secretary, and his secretary says, "Well, you know, are you getting paranoid? A little paranoid?" And he says, "When did Noah build the ark? Before the storm." So that's what I keep going back to, is you got to prepare before it happens. Otherwise, you're just reacting.
Let's stay with that. Start, stop, start, stop. What are some things we should start doing? What are some things we should stop doing with regard to managing our finances? Start, stop, start, stop. Go for it.
So I would say that what you got to start doing is having these conversations regularly. Like, it can't be, you know, oh, I did something 10 years ago, so I'm set, so I'm good. And you need to check in regularly because life changes. And I wish that I had like some simple, easy steps. Like, you do these 10 steps and you're going to be successful. The reality is that these things need careful thought and consideration, and it needs, you know, collaboration with experts. I'm, you know, the more I learn, the more I realize I didn't know, or I don't know, you know. And if all you're doing is Google searching and you're saying, okay, I'm set, I'm good, and I'm not, yeah, it's not putting enough thought into it. So that's what I would start doing. I would, you know, things I would stop doing is I would stop, you know, increasing expenses, you know, on a whim. Like, oh, I got this tax return, I'm going to go do this, or I'm going to buy this, or I just got a raise, I'm going to, you know, now we can buy this new car and stuff. Like, again, go back to carefully think about those increase of expenses, because, you know, especially with things that are obligations, you know, you add cable, you add, you know, things that are on a monthly contract, you know, increased debt. When times get hard, they're very hard to reduce those expenses. Your optional expenses, you're eating out and everything, you can reduce that whenever you want.
Right.
You know, but so those are two things I would go with.
Yeah. As a speaker, I'm trained to get audience engagement, from adult learning theory to vocal variety to pausing to telling stories, but I get people to listen. You're talking finances, where it can go over some people's head, or the numbers are coming at them. What do you do when you're doing your whispering work? What do you do to get people to listen and not daydream or their mind go off or multitask? What do you do to get them to stop, heed your word, and listen?
You know, it's not easy. It's, you know, I find that people that want to work with me are people who who know, trust, and like me. And once I get to that point with them, then we can have these conversations and get them, get some work done. My job is to interrupt someone's day and encourage them to have a conversation that they really don't want to have.
Right.
And so it's difficult, and especially when people haven't had my experiences. Okay, there's my favorite author, Nassim Nicholas Taleb, talks about the turkey problem. And I don't know if you've ever heard this, but the turkey problem is, a turkey hatches and a butcher comes by and feeds the turkey. 100 days goes by, the butcher comes by and feeds the turkey. And every day that goes by, the turkey becomes more and more confident that butchers love turkeys. And then the day before Thanksgiving, when the turkey is at the highest confidence that ever, the butcher comes by, and we all know what happens.
Right. That's good. We
have a lot of people who never have experiences, and each day they get more information, more data that says what they're doing is right. And there's people that are going to come through this pandemic, and they're going to say, "Well, my business was pandemic proof. My business is recession proof," and it may be until it's not. Right. And if you prepare as if this income's always going to be there, then if it's not there one day, you're not prepared, and then you can't take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves.
That's good. I think you have a place in this business. My business goes that turkey and the steak and it's good stuff. Yeah. I'm going back to the chat room for a second. It says, I'm going out and buying gift certificates to all my favorite restaurants for gifts during the holidays. Thank you, Eric, for your response. But that wasn't a question. That was an attaboy, pat on the back, high five. How should you go about selecting a financial planner? What's the important must-haves to select one? So in thinking about selecting their Eric, their financial whisperer, what's important? What should I look into? And what about must-haves? And let's add this. Mishaves. What should you be looking for them to have and be leery if they have that other thing?
So one, and because I'm going through this business, I want to say that if you have someone in your sphere who like and trust, who you haven't engaged them in this conversation yet, talk to them. If it's someone that you're close with, give them the opportunity. I mean, and that might be coming because I'm a financial advisor and I know how difficult it is to grow your business. But if you know someone that's in your sphere that you like and trust, talk to them and get their thoughts, get their opinions, and have this conversation with them. While being open with it. If you have to go out and you have to interview people, I would look for transparency. Make sure that make sure that you feel like they're looking for your best interests and not, and I believe like every financial advisor I've interacted with, they do have your best interests at heart, but not everybody's great at articulating that, and it puts people on the defensive. Concerns that I could have, when talking to people or talking to a financial advisor might be, let's see, the financial tools available to them. Mm-hmm. That could be a concern. You want to make sure, and for that reason, you don't necessarily have to have just one. You can pick a couple of financial advisors' brains, and you can, use one for this piece of your financial plan, another for this piece of your financial plan. Yeah, I would say, make sure that the person you're talking to, understands you, has your best interests at heart, and that you have confidence in their ability to guide you, along your financial journey.
I would add too, for someone who doesn't push, or someone who gets to know me, to know when it's time to push and when it's time to pull, when it's time to listen, when it's time to talk. Don't blow me up on social media. Don't blow me my phone up. Get a feel for my rhythm and attempt to work with me rather than attempting to take me someplace right away. Because again, we're attempting to build trust.
Yeah.
Eric, in terms of building, evolving, you talked about what happened then. with your sickness and where you are now, tell us about how you evolved as a man, as a father, as a husband, as a businessman, just how you've evolved over the years with your work and where you've been, your personal growth.
Yeah. So for me, when I got hurt, I had one skill set, and I had and I couldn't use it. I have so much knowledge. I could build the Pyramid Club, from the ground up with my knowledge, but I can't physically do it.
Sure.
You know, and then I was very deficient in other things. So I was deficient in my interpersonal skills. Doing an interview like this, 8 years ago, I would have been stuttering a lot, and my hand would have been shaking.
Right.
So I did a lot of. I started with school, and then school made me a little more curious, and I started doing some research. And I was when I got into this role, I always joked that I was a carpenter and I married my high school sweetheart, so I never learned how to develop relationships with people. Like like just meet somebody and then build a relationship. So I started networking and reading a lot of books on interpersonal communication, and and then obviously all that stuff, and learning about how to be empathetic and listen, that helped with my family life, interacting with my wife, my daughters, but for me, it's I just keep staying curious, and I'm all about constantly improving and getting better, and self-reflecting on my weaknesses. So
Good. What I'm hearing though is when your clients get you, they get all of you. They don't
yeah.
just get your business mind, they get your soul, they get your heart, they get your thirst for discovery, for enhancing your mindset. They get all of you. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, it's not a transactional, business. It's relational, and when I work with someone, I'm making a commitment to work with them for, I have clients who, when I met them, they were newlyweds. Now they moved, got a new house, they have a baby, all in a matter of a couple of years. My hope is that when their daughter goes to college, I'm there helping, and have helped prepare them for that expense. And then, I might even be there when they retire and when the daughter gets married and has kids, and help with other college financial planning. So, it's a relationship, and that's one of the biggest things with me is, if I'm working with someone, we have to like each other, we have to get along, and I find, especially with over the last 7 months, just making sure that people that I work with share my values, and that I share theirs, because if we're not aligned, there's probably someone better that's more aligned with what they want to do and what they want to accomplish, and can guide them better.
That's a great segue to where I was going. I do know that diversity, equity, and inclusion is very important to you. We have that in a lot of things. And I know you are involved with groups, organizations that speak to that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about why that's important to you and how that impacts your business, if at all?
So it's interesting because I never thought of D&I as something like that. That was just normal to me. Growing up. I mean, I remember being a kid. I was walking to school, and there, in our neighborhood, we had one black family, and there was a son there that was my age, and he was walking to school with me. And our neighbor, who had a daughter, who was also walking to school. The neighbor told my mom, "I don't want my daughter walking to school with him anymore." And my mom's like, "Okay, well, then your daughter's not going to walk to school with us," and that was it. But that's like, I've always had a very diverse friend group. And that's where I feel most comfortable, is around a mixed group of men, women, people, different races. I don't know why. That's just how I grew up. And then in the D&I space, like I am a member of the inaugural D&I committee through Northwestern Mutual out of our office, and we see this as an enormous opportunity to impact change, to reach out to underserved communities. There's the financial advising field in general is disproportionately straight white males, and when you look the same, you tend to work with the people that look like you, and that results in a lot of communities just not getting the same level of exposure to a lot of financial planning tools and things that could help them and help their family and help future generations. So that's what I want to do. I want to make sure that people are aware of what's out there, and the best way to do that is with diversity, D&I. So
why aren't you finding it difficult? I work with clients, I work with others who, I don't know what to do. How do we do this? This is so hard. I can't wrap my arms around it. Why aren't you finding it difficult?
From the company standpoint, we're recruiting or
any recruiting, retaining, going after clients, helping, serving, being able to have conversations with people who don't look like you or sound like you. To me, it sounds like that's just a way of life for you.
It goes back to, diversity is, inviting people to the dance. Inclusion is asking people to dance. I ask, it's, hey, would you like to have a conversation? Our industry is actually very well suited to grow in the D&I space because we're not constrained by budgets. If we want to recruit financial planners, we can recruit an unlimited amount of financial planners and train them. And it doesn't matter, like we don't have to shrink our budget or allocate a certain percentage of our budget to make sure that we have, diversity in our department. It's something that I've seen anyway. But yeah, for me, it's reaching out and not being afraid to have those conversations and have those hard conversations. Like I want to know what people are thinking. I've never had an issue talking politics or religion. I have one client, we actually met at the Pyramid Club, and the first night we met, we hit everything. We talked about politics, religion, but it was a really great conversation, and we weren't aligned on everything, but we were able to have that conversation. And that's, I like being around people, especially intelligent people who disagree with me. So, because that helps us all just improve ourselves and be better.
I agree. All right. I want you to put your coach hat on. The
Okay.
NBA finals just ended. LeBron won another one, although I'm all Michael Jordan, just saying. I don't wear LeBron's array. Anyway, your coach, you're in the huddle during a timeout. Your team is comprised of the people who are watching right now. You want to finish this game strong. Metaphorically, you want to finish this year strong. It's been up and down, uncertainty, unprecedented. All right, Coach, what advice do you have for us to finish this year strong from a financial planning standpoint? What's your advice?
So the first thing I would do is reevaluate your budget. Make sure that you are, in a position to adapt, to pivot. You don't know what's going to happen after the election. You don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months. And because we don't know, let's prepare, and let's prepare for, let's not prepare for the expected outcome. Let's prepare for the worst outcome. What happens if if the economy takes another dive and you lose your job? Until you feel secure. And we had someone ask a question about not feeling secure. Yeah. If you don't feel secure, make yourself feel secure. Reevaluate. A lot of stuff is just being aware of what, or another acronym, fear is false expectations assumed real. And if you're allowing this fear to build up because you're just afraid to look at the numbers, it's going to continue to eat at you. So go look at them and feel better.
I'll give you another one for fear. Face everything and rise up. Face everything and
I like
rise.
that.
The first step you said, reevaluate. Reevaluate. What else could we do to finish the year strong?
Yeah, I mean, while reevaluating, if you can find ways to make cuts, and I know it's a tough economic time, and we want to make sure, like,
Yeah,
we saw that they're going to buy gift cards. If you can do that, great. But if you can make cuts on your obligations, if you can reduce your expenses, you're going to be better positioned, moving forward, regardless. And you're going to have more money to do things you want to do, which is really that's all we want to do. Let's go. I'd rather spend money on gift cards for people on the holidays than to spend money on my obligations that I don't things that I need, but I really don't want to spend money on it. So.
And you're talking about doing this during a time when people tend to spend. Let me slip this last question in before we get ready to go. How does one get started in this field? How does one move toward doing what you do?
So it's difficult. I mean, it's easy to get in. If you have, there's tests licenses you have to acquire. You have to find a firm that you like to work in, but it's very difficult to grow in this career. It's a grind. It's a high turnover industry, which is why you get so many LinkedIn cold reaches by financial advisors, because people don't call us. It's an unsought service. So getting started is really easy, but you have to make sure you have a network. You have to make sure that you're very active in reaching out to people, and meeting the right people that can do business with you. So,
sure. Rather than ask you what keeps you going, what keeps you growing? What keeps you growing in this field, in this career? What keeps you growing, Eric?
You know what? We do a lot of our advisors set goals, and everybody. I feel like everybody's different. For me, I like to just keep my head down and go. And I want to meet as many people as I can, because what I understand with this career is, like, our model is we want to meet 1,000 people a year. Okay, nice. So if I can meet over 1,000 people a year, that I feel like I'm only doing pretty well, and that's my favorite part of the job, is getting to meet new people, have conversations. Most of them won't become clients, and that's okay. Because I get to meet them, I get to build relationships, and hopefully I can add some value, while having those conversations.
That's awesome. I already made you a coach, basketball coach. Now I'm gonna make you the owner of a Chinese restaurant. All right. We just got finished eating. We got our fortune cookie. We open it up. What one last word, phrase, thought do you want to give us before we conclude the show? What's on that sheet of paper? Some more Eric magic inside the cookie.
I'll go back to the Dr. James magic. Be prepared for the opportunity, instead of having the opportunity and not being prepared. I mean, that's what popped into my head right away.
Love it, love it. Lifting up the host.
There you go.
Listen, Eric, the hour flew by. Mm-hmm. You dropped pearls, you dropped wisdom, you gave us yourself, where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. Thank you so much for making time for us, and for, again, providing another powerful experience on the Dr. James Show. So thank you for that.
Thank you
for those of you who are watching, we gave you some more. And we do this every single week. So next week, bring somebody else with you. Our goal is to provide informational and transformational experiences from 12 to 1 on Tuesdays. And you know how I conclude. I'll say it again. You've just been Gym-Pacted. See you next week.